Okay. Thanks everyone for attending our final Artist Opportunity Workshop. I'm very excited that we have our presentation today about the facilities the library is able to offer. And so with no further ado, I'm going to turn this over. And would you be willing to introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about what you do at the library and then head right in to the presentation
Yes,
for us?
yeah, sure.
Thank
So
you.
hi everyone. My name is Tanila Hicks, and I am the programming manager at Dayton Metro Library. I am one of a three-man team in programming. Mariah Johnson is our cultural programming manager, and then we also have a programming assistant. Her name is Katie Endo. Um, I want to just share with you a little bit about the spaces that are available for Dayton Metro Library, as it refers to exhibiting art or other art-like items. And I'm going to take a moment to share my screen here. And when my screen is up, it let me know with like a thumbs up or something that you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
That will be great.
We can see
Everybody,
it.
thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I can do slideshow so I can be important. Okay, there we go. All right. So this is just in general. I understand that everyone that's listening to this or is on the call now may be specifically working with cultural works, but this presentation is really geared to help any exhibitor understand the spaces, details, and visuals and the rules that Dayton Metro Library has when it comes to displaying art. I just want to talk a little bit about some of the very general guidelines that exist when it comes to displaying items at the library. I won't read it word for word because I'm hopeful that everybody can read it, but I will read the opening statement out word for word, which is a mirror match to what is in should have been in your grant packet that Culture was provided. For the opportunity to access these spaces at no cost, DML requests that the Artist Opportunity Grant recipient offer a program, a performance, gallery show, film screening, educational workshop, or etc. that is free and open to the public during library hours. In return for sharing your art and education with library patrons, DML will market the program and provide limited space support. I want to just point that out that it's really important to understand that while we are offering the space for you to show your work, it does not come. There's there's no cost for us, and we are not going to provide any cost to you or any funding to you directly from the library. But it is a trade, right? You show your art, and then there's some type of program or associated event that should go with that, and typically that works out in the artist's favor. One of the other things that I want to point out is all of the deinstall and install and management of the exhibit is up to the artist. It's the artist's responsibility. It is not something, and nor is it in our scope to understand, how to replace plaster on the back of an art piece, right? That's not something that any of our librarians or even facilities would be able to do. So just come prepared with that in mind that you're responsible for the art. um, I won't again read everything on this slide. Is there any questions that we have about the general guidelines, or would you like for me to go over each one so that we can have a clear understanding of what those are?
I have a question to Neela, if it's okay. I've had
Yeah.
a couple visual artists ask this question. Are they able to create placards that go next to the various artworks? Are they able to say not for sale or have the NFS next to it and for sale with a cost and that kind of thing, as long as their contact information is provided? Those are some of the questions that I've heard some of the visual artists ask.
Yes. So that's a really good question. And I don't have it represented here because um, it doesn't fall into the purely general, but I will answer it for you very clearly. You can have placards, title cards, title information, descriptive information about the artwork and or the artist. We actually do recommend it in most cases. It helps the patron who was walking in the library know that this blue duck was painted during the period of blah 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 blah, right? It's very useful. What you cannot do is list the price. Okay. So, for example, what most artists do with Dayton Metro is they'll have, a title of the piece, maybe a little descriptive wording about the piece, the artist name, maybe where it was painted at, and then for more information about purchasing, contact, and there's an email address. That is perfectly acceptable. Those placards have to be provided by the artist, and that falls into the things we don't manage or maintenance the exhibit. We typically recommend you bring your own tape for that. Painter's tape is best, and you just put it up on the wall next. If you actually have like a piece of hanging um, placard, like something larger, then you would need to bring the tools to hang that.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Is there any other questions that I can answer? I took the screen off, so I can't see people's faces. Okay. Okay.
Evan
Okay.
shook his head
So,
no.
okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward to the meat of what we're going to see today. This is, we're going to go through some pictures now, just showing you what the space looks like. This is our St. Clair Opportunity Space. This is on the first floor of the main library. This space is covered with windows from both the 3rd Street side and the St. Clair side. It's accessible to the public, assuming when it's not a time of deinstall or reinstall. The doors, those glass doors that you see there, are typically open, visible through the windows as well. There are screens that come down in the window, but they're on a sun timer. That timer does not always work in the favor, so I recommend people just plan for those to go up and down as the building is set for them to do. And it's also concrete floors. This is our space that we use for programming when it's art related. So any type of paintings or actual clay work. We had aluminum foil work. We've done a lot of different things in this room. It is very large. Those poles are in the space um, throughout, but I think there's about 4 of those. There is a whiteboard on the back where we have also used to adhere using like command strips, other art information, or if you have a guest book or something like that. Um, it's a very diverse space though. So I'll move forward to the next one so you can see it from a different angle. So this angle that you're looking at on that smaller picture is from entry to the room from the library, from within the library. The bigger picture on your left is there's a big bay door that's there. This room has an access to the street. So if you have large mediums or large structures, they can come through the loading doors, and tables can be set up in this space. I'll stop right there for a moment before I go to some examples of the structures that we do provide that can be available. I'll stop right here though and ask, are there any questions about this space?
Has this space always been used for visual art 100%, or say education workshops and those kinds of things? Or I'm just thinking sound quality if somebody wanted to use it as a performance space.
Awesome. That's a good question. For a performance standpoint, singing does okay if it's not amplified. However, anything like dancing, visual art, like we had an artist, and excuse me for my lay term exampling, they covered themselves artfully in some type of LED light, turned off all the lights, and they did like a performance with it. Very interesting. This space was not for that. So in reference to performances, I don't recommend this space for it. We do have the Bassani Theater that has what we call a performance floor for dancers. We typically, like, programmatic recommend that it happen up there. Um, Again, just acoustic sounds, it works out okay. But performances like tap or any type, even modern dance, the floor is truly concrete. So it's even not good for the feet, from what I understand dancers need.
No. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, so I will go in on. So this is the same space. It's a little bit later in the day, as you can tell. This is an exhibit that actually just got put down. This was the Kitsuki Breast Cancer Awareness exhibit. As you can see, these big metal walls, they're like ridged panels. We do have these available. They come in like an accordion style large door. They do require lots of heavy lifting. It is not something that the artist does. That is, when I say we do minimum, this is part of the minimum that we will do. We are responsible for moving these and putting these up and taking them down. As well as the easels can be made available. The setup pattern requires approval. That would be from me. And that's really me just looking at safety concerns, access to the back door, access to the loading dock. You can't just see the white panels and get inspired and decide you want to lay them on the floor. That would damage them. So I get the final say of how, but they are available. One thing I do want to note about these panels and any of the equipment that we do have is, once we provide them, we just put them there. It is the artist's job and their team, if they have a team, to decide how they want to use them. So you see these foam boards are attached to the panel. That is not something that our department did. The artist did that, and we can give suggestions on the how, give you some things that we've seen before, but we're not going to do the work, if that makes sense. Same thing with the easels. We put the easels out. I know it sounds crazy, but we cannot have the artist put the easels out because it's a safety concern. We provided these chairs. They just so happened to be leftover furniture in the space, and they kind of said it looked good there, so they liked it. So we'll do things like that, but we don't do anything with the art. Okay, and I'll show you one more thing and then I'll stop for questions again. So this picture was not taken in the St. Clair Opportunity Space, but these black graded stands are available for the space. The picture on your right with the black grade is just by themselves. It's really just like, I have to say, like a really tall caging material. And artists have used these to hang regular traditional like paintings. As you can see here, this was the 50th celebration to hip hop. And the artist decided to use these to hang some artifacts and items. And they also decided to connect the grates to the white panels. And really it's just kind of put up against it. They didn't change the grates in any way. But they use that to connect the two together. These are available. We have a smaller quantity of these grates than we do the white panels. But upon the artist coming to Dayton Metro, having a conversation, maybe filling out some paperwork, we would kind of suss out what would work best against what is already available, timing and etc. Because both, well, not the white panels, but the black grates do go out to our branches and they're on loan. Essentially, they belong to the host system. So there is a time where it may not be available for you to use. All right, so I stopped there for a moment. Does anybody have any questions in reference to the panels or the space or the grates?
I love the grates. It's a really different aesthetic. And, you know, part of what I'm wondering is, can these pieces be used on a performance space, if somebody wants to have like a maybe I'll hold on to that question, Tanila, until we're looking at an actual performance space, and then ask this
Okay.
question then. I have a
Okay.
tendency to get ahead of myself.
Well, that's okay. I can kind of address where I think you're going. So the
Yeah.
short answer is the grates, yes, because they're more transportable. So I
Okay.
can move those grates in the elevator just fine, right? I just need a
Okay.
flatbed and they go right up. Those white panels, no. Those
Okay.
white panels are extremely large, and they're almost they're the size of like a traditional door. So they
Right.
don't go. We don't have a freight elevator at Dayton Metro.
Okay.
So our performance spaces are on the third floor. That's the Bassani Theater. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure I have a picture of that somewhere. I don't have it included in this presentation, but I can show you.
Okay.
Um, but that's so the white panels can't get up to the third floor. The only other performance space is the Eichelberger Forum. So that's on the first floor of the library as well.
Yeah.
But it's a stage, and we protect that stage at all costs. There's no
Yeah.
scratching, no. We even recommend people don't wear certain kind of shoes on that floor.
Okay.
Um, so we don't move the white panels other than from the storage area, which is over here where you see those chairs. Those panels
Okay.
literally go from that area over here and back. Every now and then
Got
they'll hit the atrium. Yeah.
it. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But
Thank you.
but the grates,
I
yes,
love the
they can
grades.
be moved. Yeah.
Well, and some
I
of the
can't say I've ever
artists
seen
are
them do
doing
that,
more
but that
mixed,
would be cool.
yeah, doing more mixed media. And so I'm even, if they did a performance, I'm thinking of musicians really, if they wanted to kind of use that. But all right, thank you.
You're welcome. And then when we're done here, I can flip and show you a picture of the forum stage area and the Bassani Theater. If it is a really uh, great opportunity to collaborate. We do have a piano. It's regularly untuned, but that is something, given the right timing, right time for us to know that we can request for it to be rolled out and played during a performance. We've done it a couple of times. But that piano also stays where it's at. It comes out the closet, rolls right back. And they can use the stage to do their performance while the piano player sits above them in the back playing. We've done that. Also, our Huber Heights location. So this is not at the main library, but our Huber Heights location has what we call the Cultural Commons performance space. It looks like an amphitheater. It is tiered steps like an amphitheater and has a brand new baby grand piano with the fireplace, perfect backdrop. We've done some Christmas concerts there. It's been really great. So there is opportunity for your performance artists to still engage with Dayton Metro Library.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So I just want to talk a little bit about the second floor gallery. I'll start out with the caveat that's listed on the slide. This space is managed by Tiffany Shaw Diaz, and she is in the External Relations Department. The two spaces together, Sinclair Opportunity Space and the second floor gallery, used to be managed together by Jane Close. We have now separated them, although we understand that sometimes I get people that are better fit for second floor gallery. Second floor gallery gets people that are better fit for the Sinclair Opportunity Space. And that is what we handle internally. But I want to kind of go over what it looks like. If you have questions about using it, booking it, scheduling it, you have to get with Tiffany Shaw Diaz about it. So this is on the second floor. It kind of wraps around it kind of wraps around the building, across the windows and over into our nonfiction area. Starting to the left, it starts kind of where what's over there now, our tech edit suite, where our green room is at, and it walks all the way past the elevators, wraps all the way around to the nonfiction section. It's a hanging rail. I do have dimensions from the floor listed on the pictures. I just didn't put them on the slide because I didn't like the way the captions looked. Um, but they're framed. It's good for framed projects. There is limited floor space because we like to leave our floors empty. Patrons are walking around. We don't want them to bump and knock it down. But there are times, as you can see in this picture to the left, where we allow them to put one small stand with one little thing, with the understanding of we're not going to maintenance or patrol it. So if it gets knocked down, you have to kind of own that. Okay. There are some limitations to the railing. For example, we can't have you just covering up the fire alarm, right? As you can see in the picture to the right. Continuing on, there is hanging rail in places where you don't think you can do multiple pieces, but you actually can if you wanted to. And then it kind of ends. I think this is this picture on the right, the last picture where the catalog is for the nonfiction area. It's really good for multiple related images, like on this picture on the left, those two that are kind of aligned together, those are related. It's really good for exhibits like that. It's also highly recommended you do title cards on these, because otherwise patrons tend to dismiss it as part of the library's decor if you don't have title cards. So I always recommend use title cards up here if you're going to use it anywhere. And then I think I do have one more. Okay, so I mentioned the double hanging is something that you can do. We do provide hooks and a limited quantity of clips for this particular rail. I have them listed here. We have 3 different types that are available. These last 2 look the same, but there's some kind of minor difference that my assistant keeps telling me is crucial. I don't know what that is. That's on the artist to figure out which one works best. And again, it does also depend on availability. If you would be interested in utilizing this space for your art, again, you would contact Tiffany Shaw Diaz in External Relations, and she can go over what the calendar looks like for that space. Are there any questions about the second floor gallery?
I will say it isn't a lot of space. I feel like, because it's multiple walls, it's really, almost surrounds the whole stairwell up, right? One of my questions, I guess, for it is, have you ever had multiple art, I'm imagining an artist who feels like one wall would be enough. Have you ever had multiple artists showing in that space at the same time? Is that something that Tiffany could arrange, or?
I can assume yes, but because I don't manage the space, I don't want to speak out of turn. Right. What I will say is this: 2 things in these pictures. So I'm starting where the original rail started, which is right here where this is an emergency exit. But there's actually a whole additional space on the other side of the elevators that I don't have pictured.
Yeah.
And it goes like, it's the length of this wall plus another side wall like this, a little larger. So there is more, number 1. Number 2, in theory, you can, because currently right now, like if you go there right now, there's art on the wall, but I also have a physical exhibit that's on accordion grates. They're not ours. They belong to the Natural Cultural Museum, African American Cultural Museum. And they're kind of like, they look like the old style drying racks. Like if you ever dried your clothes outside. They're really tall. They're about 9 foot, and they come together at a V, and it's displaying the Unmasked Hero exhibit that they offer. So that exhibit is kind of squares in between of what's going on the walls. And that was just because of space and safety. St. Clair was not available because we had the breast cancer awareness exhibit. It couldn't go on the third floor because it's a safety hazard. So we put it on the second floor, knowing that there was another exhibit on the walls. And I forgot who's on there now, but one doesn't have anything to do with the other.
Thanks, Tanila.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I thought I had a picture of that in my phone, but I'm not for certain. So I don't want to take the time to pull that up. So
it's a significant amount of space. You can tell even just from the images you do have.
Yeah, it is. And there are times where I can't say that it was intentional like that, like where we booked, Bob's art on one wall and Tina did quilts on another. Like there has been times where I've seen that, but I really don't feel like it was intentional. It was either due to some change in booking or some transition period from a deinstall to a reinstall that had nothing, that we couldn't conquer. So we just allowed for both. I can tell you in the St. Clair space, we do like to have just one thing going on unless we can tie one thing to another. So for example, in February, the end of January through February, I have an artist coming through. His name is Nero. Nero is going to do a 4-week series on sketching and painting for adults trying to indulge in their new passions. And so it's pretty much a basic sketching class, but they're going to be doing progressive work. The progressive work is going to be displayed along the wall in St. Clair. But in the meantime, I am leaving that space open because it's Black History Month in February, and that's such a busy time for us. I'm leaving that middle floor open for other relatable exhibits. I don't know if I'll get one, but if I do, I didn't want to just say this art class that happens once a week takes up the whole room for a month because it's such a great space. All right. So I talked about the hooks, and I think that is all I have there. I think I stopped sharing, right? Yes.
You did. All right. I'm wondering if there's a way you can show us the stage space. I know exactly the room you're talking about, and it's a good space.
Oh yeah. So I'll be glad to show you that. We're going to do the super librarian thing and do the real easy thing by going to Google. Google has great pictures. So I am going to share this and then we'll just kind of flip through. So please excuse if that bothers your eyes. I'm going to start with the Bassani Theater. This is on the 3rd floor. It was named after Susie Bassani. A lot of the performances that we have there are either in her honor in some type of way or recognized for her for another reason. This is the space. This is set as a meeting, so it's not as wowing, right? But I want to point out the curtain. That is draped oftentimes for performances. This room also does have one of the only spaces that has specialized lighting. So there's pink, purple, green, white. You can program if there's a lighting director. You can have them. We have a booth up that's higher than this floor. It's like the third and a half floor is what we call it, where they can sit in and program it. There is full audio and visual. There is a projector in this space as well. And then this floor is what they call dance ready. Okay. It's kind of like a mesh. I'll show you. Let's see if DC has a picture. I'm sure they do. If we can blow it up. Well, all right. Hold on, please. Oh, can you guys see this picture over here on the right with the two young girls?
Yeah.
Okay. So this floor is, I don't even know what the material is called, but it has a bounce to it. Yeah. Most of our performances with DC or any other group, Dayton Performance Arts, prefer this room for the flooring. Okay. We have had all types of things. And music wise, because of the length and the acoustics in the room, it was meant for performances. It does very well. Muse Machine comes in quite often.
Okay.
Okay. Now, back down on the first floor is our Eichelberger Forum. This is definitely more of a presentation room. However, the stage, I'll go to see if we can get that picture up here quickly. No, don't do the Facebook thing. Okay, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, this is the stage. This podium is removable. If you look real closely in the background there, that's that piano that I told you about. It literally comes out of this closet and then it rolls over here. It does this thing and it rolls back. Sometimes it's just sitting there by itself. We do have 4 large screen panels on this wall along the right hand side of the screen. And typically we do use all those. They can be set to display multiple different images or multiple different inputs. For example, if one screen is used to display text for accessibility, the other screen can be used to show a video, another one a flyer, etc. There is a green room in the back. There's a changing room with the bathroom. So this is also a performance space. We do have lighting rigging here, but that special customized lighting that I talked about for the Bassani Theater is actually not really available here. We have a couple of presets, but you can't really customize it. It's really, low light, high light, middle light, stage light, and that's really your options. We also do have audio visual full. And in this space, unlike the Bassani, we have the option to do lavalier mics. So we've had things like Human Race Theater do a whole stage production, like a whole play. They did a whole set on the stage. We've had Muse Machine perform here. As you can see on this, whatever's going on here, somebody brought a keyboard of some type. So it's very versatile in this space.
Okay.
The Bassani holds almost 260 people. The Eichelberg Forum holds 182.
Okay. I've actually been in is it Eichelberg? Is that how? Yeah, Eichelberger Forum. I've actually been in that. And what's interesting to me about these images that you're showing now is they have all the chairs. And we always had kind of tables out. And people would sit back on kind of the steps with the cushions on them that you can see, or they'd sit at like little round tables while the performance was going on.
That is correct, and that is an option as well. This space is also used for weddings, so I've seen a great.
Okay.
I've seen a multitude of different setups. We have tall tables. I'm sorry, we don't have. The artist has the ability to rent tall tables, and you can do like a cocktail style. Those cushions are easily removable. We can throw those in storage. Sometimes they're out. If we need to maximize seating space, we typically put those away, so then we can put more chairs because it gives more seating space without the cushions. Depending on the event, we may allow for, as you can see in this picture with the city of Dayton, we have people lined up on the banister. Sometimes that's allowable, sometimes that's not. It depends on the purpose of the event. In this case, it was a conversation, so it was okay. But for performance, I would lean not to that because it doesn't really allow you to see the full performance.
Right.
When DCDC does come and they don't do it in a Bassani, they come here, they require the stage and 20 feet in on the floor. So we can't start the cushions until at least 20 feet because they use the floor as part of their performance. So it's very versatile in that way.
Yeah, that's part of what I was wondering, if whether or not anybody had ever used it like a pit, like a pit theater or a pit stage. you know, like a black box almost, although
Yep.
it's obviously not that, but like a substitute for that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we have had that. Some of the hindrances do come when you want to do that, but you also want to do some type of major recording or streaming. So this owl right here to the right of the picture, where right above that trash can,
Mhm.
if you're doing some type of elaborate recording or you need some kind of setup, you have to plug in there. So that kind of cuts off some of at least that second and third row, right?
Okay.
From this side of the floor.
Right.
Other things I've seen is round tables in the space where they've done like what was it, Native American Heritage Month. They did this roundtable conversations, and they did like a fire pit, like a fake fire pit type
Okay.
thing. So in the middle they had a big fire pit, and all around it they had round tables. They had discussions at the round table, then came to the big pit.
Oh,
So again,
interesting.
very versatile.
Okay.
um but it is smaller in space, just to be
Okay.
clear on that. It is smaller than the Bassani.
Right. What about filmmakers? Because sometimes for the Artist Opportunity Grant, we do have filmmakers who want to have, you know, a viewing of a short film or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Would they be able to show a film in this space, do you think? With the screen
So
there and
yes, so both
okay,
of those are eligible to show films.
okay.
The both the form has that big screen that comes out over the stage that works too. Most people choose again the Bassani because of the curtain. You
Right.
can pull that
You can
curtain
pull it and it's
through,
okay.
and the screen seems bigger because it takes up more of the wall space than it does in the form. So when you're in the form, the projector comes down, but you can still see on the side of the thing where the chairs are, the window out into the park. And you can also still see the piano and all that, versus the Bassani, the wall is the projector.
Okay.
Um, but so none of that is the challenge. Most of our spaces, even in the community rooms out at the branches, they have ability for you to do a film screening. Your
Okay.
challenge is going to become the rights to show the film. So Dayton Metro Library requires that the film either be under our SWANK license or our Canopy license, or we have an individual permission from the producer of the film to show said film. And that has to be in writing. So just like I can't go, to a bar and just start playing whatever movie I want without copyright, issues, we have to have something. And
Okay.
if the film is created by your student or by your artist wholly, meaning there are no clips of other individual films included, we have no problem. You just write us a letter saying, yes, you can show this movie. If that film includes like documentary style and it has clippets of Martin Luther King's speech or clippets of this or that, that is where we typically run into a challenge
Some
of.
copyright issues. Okay. Good to
Yes,
know.
yes.
Thank you.
They're not insurmountable problems, but they do
Okay.
become a little bit of a challenge. And we do have ways that I can suggest you navigate around that. For example, if your film, if the person that's been awarded the grant wants to talk about the filmmaking process, they do some type of exhibit in the singular place talking about the film process, whatever that looks like, right? And then they want to do a talk about it. That's great. Then what they can do is book the space as a private patron. If they book the space as a private patron, just as anybody wanting to do a baby shower or a wedding, they can show whatever they want in the space. The rights don't fall on us, then they fall on you that booked the space.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for this. Jeff or Evan, do you have any kind of last questions for Tanila before I feel like we're reaching the end of your presentation, yes?
Yeah, I
I
don't
have a
have
question.
anything new to share, but if
Yeah.
there's questions, I'd be glad to address them.
I have a question. Your gallery spaces, you were talking about hours of operation. They're available during the public library hours. Can you talk a little bit about when your theaters are open
For
in terms of like
Yes, good question.
performances?
So good question. So in general, let me give you the general hours. This applies to almost all of our locations. Library is open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 9:30 to 8:30, 9:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. On Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, it is 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. I put that on the slide specifically for deinstall and reinstall. We do not open the building to non-DML employees outside of, the working hours of the library, meaning you can't come in at 7 a.m. and set up. I'm not going to be there at 7 a.m. and we are not, we don't let people in that, don't already need to be there. And so that's really when I run into that problem. So I wanted to make sure I noted that. In reference to performances, so that's a program question, and that's where we get this mix of you're exhibiting, but you're also going to do a program. So you're going to show your filmmaking process and exhibit, but then you want to come do a screening, but you want to do it past the hours that we're open. There is some flexibility with that. I don't do that often. That requires me or my staff to, stay past working hours. Specifically, it requires our security department to be available. So if the building closes at 6, but you want to do a screening 5 to 7, depends on a lot of factors, whether I get yeses to if I can say a yes to you. If I have proper planning, 3-4 months, I can let security know, hey, I need somebody to be there to open the garage, et cetera, past 7 o'clock. I will not do any programming past 9:30. And that's under just any, circumstances. So typically we get the people that want to cross over. They want to start something at 5 and go to 7, or, start something at 6:30. And under most cases it's acceptable, but it's not a all the time occurrence. So if you have a reoccurring, you want to show this film 4 times in the month, 3 of those times need to be during working hours, and maybe we'll make one exception to, like a late night screening type of thing.
Evan, do you want to provide more detail about your idea for the performance space, or do you feel like that you've got what you need here?
That answers my question.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Evan, may I ask what type of art or art medium that you do, since you're the artist on the call here? I would love to hear. I see another person joined. I would love to hear about
Jeff.
what you do.
Sure. I'm a musician. So most likely what I would be booking the space for would be some kind of performance. That's why I asked, specifically about the theaters.
Okay.
Mostly because that's what I'm interested in. So.
Oh, well, that is awesome. I'm very glad to hear that. While we are here, let me go ahead and show you. This is one of my favorite spaces. This is at our Huber Heights location. I'm not for certain what your grant requires as far as understanding where you have to do a thing at, but I want to show you something really quickly if I can find it.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, how you doing, Rachel?
Good. I didn't realize it was you.
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
Once upon a time, Jeff and I lived in the same building.
Oh, okay.
A wonderful bohemian apartment building on the Miami River.
Yeah.
So as I'm getting this picture, I found it. It's just taking a little bit to load. As I'm getting this picture up, Evan, I would encourage you highly to come to this. We have a performance at the Huber Heights branch on October the 24th. It is Tiny Stacks. We're mirroring the Tiny Desk performances that NPR does. And cool. Tiny Stacks performs inside the branch live in living color. And I have some pictures. I'm going to share my screen now. It's the last one for the season on the 24th. So you can get a really good idea of what that looks like. But I'll show you this here. This is our Huber Heights location. Okay. Mm-hmm. And this was us trying to lay out where the Tiny Stacks artist is going to go on the 24th. This was a while ago. So there's stairs, some of the similar cushions, it's different colors. As you can see, we were mirroring what the band would look like. This is a 5-piece band, I think. Back there in the right-hand corner, there is a brand new piano already tuned and ready to go. But also we have room for drums and other acoustic equipment. There are tables up there that we'll likely leave for this performance. But in some cases, we like when DPAA did their opera preview, they came here, we moved those tables to the side a little bit and just turned the chairs around to face the performance. And they did a thing where they were walking around in between guests, which was really interactive. And then this is the view from the top of the area. So it is right in front, right by the front doors. Those gondolas are able to be adjusted and moved for a limited time. You know, like if it's just half a day, they'll move them. So that is our performance space at our Huber Heights location. Now, I don't know what specifics your grant says, but in reference to doing programming with the Dayton Metro Library, I'm always open to finding how we can do things at other locations as well.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tanila, may I ask a question? Hi, how are you? I'm Gregory Shanga Freeman. So I have a question about the advanced booking. What would you recommend in terms of booking a particular space at the library? How much notice would you want to have?
Well, that's going to depend. So if you are doing when you say booking a space, you mean booking like one of the rooms that I talked about in the presentation?
A performance space where you're inviting the public in and notifications that go out to the public to advertise the event.
Gotcha. Okay, so let me start out by explaining the two differences and how we see them. There's programming with the Dayton Metro Library. Programming is something that you go through with me, and that is where we discuss what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and I make sure that that thing that you're going to do aligns with our strategic goal. And if it's aligned with an art exhibit of some sort, you know, we make sure it all fits. That I can book out as far as possible, but that's not more of a book than it is we decide that this works for the library. You're going to do a program for us. Okay. And that's when we advertise, we do the flyers, we put it on the website, all that stuff. Then there is event booking. So imagine you're having a family reunion and you need to book a room to do a thing. Okay. Event booking goes through Kim Dillinger. And as far as I understand, she can go anywhere close to 90 days or further out. But that's where you pay for the space, just like you would if it's a family reunion, need a ballroom. You pay for the space. You still have to follow the code of conduct. You can't go in there just hammering stuff on the walls, but essentially you're free to do what you want in that space. So we've had musicians wanting to do jazz concerts. Well, their vision on what they want to do didn't align as a program, so they booked it. They paid the $1,200, $600, whatever the price is. I can't tell you what that is. I don't know. But they paid that price. They're allowed to sell tickets. They can do whatever they want in that space, but it's not a library program, meaning I'm not putting it on the website. I'm not doing any advertisement aside from opening the doors for you and tell you how to get to the bathrooms and making sure you tear down and put up, that it's on you. If we're talking about on a program level, which I'm hoping that's what you're talking about, that's a collaborative conversation. And if you're looking at anything, I'm not doing any program planning for anything happening until March because I'm already planning my January and February.
Okay.
So right now I'm looking at March, April, May. I will lightly consider June, but I'm not really thinking anything past June because I have to get through March, April, and May, which is my next cycle.
Okay. That's helpful to know, Tanila, because one of the things grant applicants have to do for the Artist Opportunity Grant is provide a timeline. And so, you know, and they have all of 2025, you know, with access to these funds. So they don't have to wait until December. Obviously, they can do it anytime within that time, those 12 months. But for example, they could be wanting to have a performance outside of the cycle you're planning right now.
Right.
And still come up with a timeline for the grant. It would be totally okay for them to have to adjust that, obviously, based on what you're able to provide them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I can tell you the timeline, the full timeline for 2025 now, if you would like, just so you can have it from a programmatic standpoint, what that timeline is. When it comes to exhibits fall in a funky space, meaning if I have room for it, there's nothing already booked, I'm going to allow it because it's kind of just making time for a deinstall, reinstall type of thing.
Okay.
So there's wiggle room with that timing. But for programs, meaning you set an exhibit up, but now you want to come do a thing, you want to come talk, you want to come sing, etc. I am kind of bound to these timelines, and I can tell you what those are.
Okay.
So for, as I mentioned, I already planned for January and February. That deadline was back in September, so we're pretty locked in for that. Budget pending. For March, April, and May of 2025, it is December the 14th.
So
what that means is I'm sorry, go ahead.
I interrupted. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that was me. What did you say?
I think I was going to ask you the question you were answering, which is they need to contact you by December 14th if they're interested in March, April, or May. Is that what you meant?
Not quite. What I would need is I need to have already had that conversation, at least have a timeline, like, is it May? Is it April? Have a good idea of what you've done by December the 14th. Do I need the paperwork done? We can fudge that a little bit, right? Do I need to put work order requests? For example, if you want those white panels, do I need to have those in by December the 14th? No, I don't. But I do need to have already had the conversation, understand what it is you do. I normally, at minimum, do a meet and greet. That's with anybody doing exhibits or performances or programs or speaking. A meet and greet where I get to understand what you're going to show, see examples of what you're going to show. That needs to happen before December 14th.
Okay.
Rachel, I have a question.
Yeah.
Along that line, when is the deadline for the Art Culture Works grant? When is the deadline?
It's actually Sunday evening, coming up. It's the 20th. So let me give you my phone number has not changed. I think you may have that.
Okay.
Contact me if you wanna talk about the grant. We can set up a meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So for June through August, we keep those months together intentionally because we have a really large initiative we do every year called Summer Challenge. The deadline for programming for that period is February the 15th. So by February the 15th, I have an idea of what programs I'm going to have, what performances I'm going to have, how many times I'm going to have it, how many iterations. Typically, I know what branches it's going to go to, and I've met and talked to the artists or speakers by February the 15th. Again, do I have my paperwork in? Maybe so. It depends, right? But that time frame is what we're looking at there. And then for the rest of the year, September through December, my deadline is May the 17th.
Okay.
And that's just for 2025. 2026 may be slightly different, but typically you're looking at around the same. We just kind of move it based off of holidays. We always keep June through August together. But sometimes our external relations department, who does all of the promotions and publicity, require a little bit different timing at the end of the year. So we'll adjust it year to year. So those are the dates for 2025.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was a
You're
good
welcome.
question.
You're
I'm glad
welcome.
you asked it, Gregory. Thank you so much, Tanila. Do you all have any other questions for Tanila before we let her go? I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your evening at home to be with us. This has been so helpful, Tanila. I'm really grateful to you for this. So thank you.
Well, I thank you. I thank you guys very much. I could tell somebody's in the library now, and there's only 2 locations that have that announcer going on. And you at the main branch?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. This Evan right here is one of the examples why I typically don't do the between closing times, because I've been told that that's on some type of automatic timer and nobody knows how to find the button to turn it off. So if you're doing a performance and it's right at this time, it's going to go off and there's nothing that I can do to stop it. There's another one that happens in like another 15 minutes. So.
You sort of have to stop strumming the guitar, pause for a moment, and then continue.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Tanila. I really appreciate it. Everybody, I'm going to stay on, in case anybody wants to talk about the grant or has any questions about the application. But I feel like we should let you go. And your kids were so good. So good.
They were very good, and I really appreciate it.
Good.
If you guys have any questions, Rachel has my contact information, but it's also publicly available. I do not hide. My card floats everywhere. I'm somewhere on the website. Please feel free to reach out to me, especially if you just want to chat about what you want to do. It is better to talk to me about it early than it is last minute. Last minute typically gets a no from me. So just give me a call, and at least I can say, I know this person, this is what they want to do. And kind of mark it on my calendar as a way we can fit it in. So feel free to reach out anytime.
Yeah. May we have your number or your email?
He said Rachel has.
Oh, Rachel had. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I can get it to you.
All right.
Thank you, Tanila. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a good evening.
Take care. All right, I'm going to stop recording.